$145 billion. That's how much U.S. banks and securities firms are set to pay their employees. Subsidized by you. That's right. There's still a lot of free taxpayer money out there, and that's how they're making these record profits. Wall Street Journal says that's nearly 18% more than last year. And if that isn't enough to warm the cockles of your heart, the New York Post reports, bear in mind this is the New York Post, reports that Democrats have agreed to exempt union workers from the Cadillac tax on high-cost health care plans until 2018. Let's say we start with the bonuses and the bank tax. Republican Congressman Scott Garrett, Democratic Congressman Paul Kanzorski with us. Gentlemen, thanks very much for being with us.
Good morning.
Pleasure, Mark.
I'm guessing that one of you thinks the bank tax is a good idea and one thinks it isn't.
I suspect you're right, Mark.
There you are.
Mr. Kanzorski, you're for it, I assume?
Absolutely. Look, the American people and the American government came to the rescue of Wall Street just a little over a year and a half ago. And my friends on the other side of the aisle, including Scott, argued it was the wrong process. But it seems to me now we've all recognized that Wall Street has recovered. And all we're saying is since we planned and promised the American people it wouldn't cost them anything, and we said we'd recover that money within 5 years, we're moving that up now because Wall Street is showing to the American people and the government that they've got this $165 billion in excesses for bonuses. And what a better time to collect the money's due and necessary to pay back the TARP funds so that it doesn't cost the American taxpayer anything. So I'm very much in favor of what we're doing.
Sounds good to me. Mr. Garrett, make your case.
What a better time to be raising taxes on the American economy. I mean, listen to all the reports that you have on this program continuously. We are not out of the woods yet. We have a long ways to go, and with some projected, whether we're in a W situation or a V, what have you, we're not out of it right now. And now is not the time to be saying, let's lay another tax on the American economy.
They have record profits. It seems pretty clear they are out of the woods.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's two fundamental problems with this idea that the administration is coming up with. One is constitutional, the other is economic. The they in this is basically who's going to pay this tax? The they are the ones, the banks that the administration doesn't like. You know, why is he just going after these institutions and not all the way across the board?
Because
and why is he doing it right?
They're the ones who borrowed the most taxpayer money.
Well, they borrowed the money, some of which did not want to borrow the money. All of those, or some of those, have already paid back the money with interest. So why are we targeting those? Why are we targeting AIG? Why are we targeting Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the GSEs, these other institutions? Why are we going even broader than that? If you want to go after the ones who are responsible to this, how about some other portions of the industry that actually were responsible?
Excuse me, but they have not paid back the TGLP money.
They have not, but...
No, and that amounts to $20–30 billion. It's kind of easy to make record profits when you're getting free money from the taxpayer. Doesn't that free money from the taxpayer carry some sort of responsibility to the taxpayer?
It does carry some responsibility. Actually, you have to go back to say some sort of responsibility for the largest howl out there right now. Washington is saying that we have to do this is by the very same people who voted in favor of the TARP bailout without any restrictions, without any oversight, with any controls whatsoever. Now, after the fact, they're saying, hey, how come Wall Street is doing so well, and how come they're doing these bonuses? Maybe they should have thought a little bit longer on passing the TARP before they did it. But now here we are. There are constitutions.
We can't change what happened in the past, but if we overmeasured and gave them too much, and if our plan was just too good for Wall Street and not good enough for Main Street, now's the time to make that adjustment. And that's what we're going to do.
Now is not the time to make. The first problem of this is constitutional. How can you be targeting just this one segment? And the second portion of it is economic. Much of Wall Street right now is waiting for Washington to get out of the way and stop changing the rules of the game. Why do they keep doing that?
Wall Street and the business community never have a time when they should pay back what they owe the American people or help satisfy the deficit. And I'm getting sort of tired of saying, why should the American people out there, why should they have to pick up these losses? Why should they have lost their jobs? Why can't small business people get loans from these very big banks? Why is our economy growing so slowly on Main Street, but Wall Street is so successful that it can pay out the highest bonuses in the history of Wall Street? If I've ever seen an opportunity where we can now get back some of this money and perhaps massage it and change the direction of it, this is it. And And certainly it shouldn't go at a negative cost to the American taxpayer or increase the deficit or debt.
Congressman Konjorski, can I ask you why now President Obama has decided that he's going to pick the fight with Wall Street? Because he's been quite careful about what he said broadly up until yesterday, where he's talked about the bonuses being obscene. We want our money back, and we're going to get it. Why now, 1 year into office, does he strike?
I think, and look, I've been in favor and helped propose the recovery program. But I think the responsibility of Wall Street toward responding, particularly to the bonus, they know how annoying that is to the American people. They didn't care. Well, it's time now, since they have that excess money, we can do it. I think the president's trying to send a good message, and I'm with him on that message. Wall Street can do some things. One thing they can do is start lending to small and middle-sized businesses to get Main Street kicked off. They're not doing it. They ought to start a program. Instead of putting these bonuses out on the street, $165 billion, why don't they form a program of $165 billion in small and middle-sized loans to American business to increase employment?
Congressman Konjorski, let's switch gears here, and I think put you on the defensive, because we're looking at the front page of the New York Post today, which I'll admit doesn't always deal in fact, but this seems pretty solid. Big Labor has won a concession from Democrats agreeing to exempt union workers from the Cadillac tax on high-cost health care plans until 2018. First of all, is that true? And if it is, why do you agree to it?
Well, we haven't agreed to it. That's the ping-ponging. I happen not to be in favor of what's going on health care. I wanted to have a full-fledged conference so that it would be more open to the American people and to all of the Congress to participate in what is happening. But they didn't agree to that. They've gone to this ping-ponging, and all we're hearing is little smudgeons of what may be the fact. But the reality is that they pull some of these things out of the air, and they're onerous in certain areas. For instance, the firemen and the policemen, they're not getting any concessions. They're only getting what they have to have in order to cover their people, and their costs are much higher than average health care costs. And so they're going to be punished if we allow it to sit as the formula was originally put together in the Senate. But quite frankly, you know, we're going to do the same thing to this as we've just done on this responsibility fee. We're going to have to come back and adjust it. Let's get it through, let's get it done, and then let's start really looking at the parts and the overall collective part of the program and make corrections that are necessary. And they're going to have to be made, because some of this is not fair, some of it isn't responsive. But what we tried to get at is the $70,000 a year Cadillac programs in Goldman Sachs.
All right, we're going to have to, we'll all back you on that one.
Okay.
Anyway, Congressman, thank you both very much. We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and we'll do it again.